I am by no means a perfect or even a good game developer. Like, sure, we released a game for the industry, but we have made plenty of mistakes along the way to get to that finished state. And I want to talk in this video a bit more about the things that I see when I interact with other game developers, or when you guys showcase some cool stuff that you're working on in our Discord server, which you should join, by the way, and how you can avoid them and how to make sure that you're not killing your progress needlessly. And the first thing that I want to talk about that you're doing, or better yet, not doing, that is actually ruining your progress, is not learning from mistakes. And I don't just mean your mistakes, I also mean our mistakes. There's this quote that a smart person learns from his mistakes, whereas a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. And I don't see you guys do that enough. So the whole purpose of this channel, where I talk about like my experiences when we made our first game, when we're making our next game, is showcasing where have we gone wrong and how could we have avoided it, like in retrospect. That's the whole purpose, basically, to teach you how to do better than us. I don't want any of our viewers to be worse than us. And you can only do this if you take our mistakes, you watch our like different kinds of videos. We did like the 23 mistakes we made during Forge Industries development, and you don't make them. You stay vigilant on, okay, I'm not gonna do this. Even if you don't learn from ours, you should definitely learn from your own mistakes. This is something that I understand. I've struggled with as well. The best example is how we didn't want to spend any money on art for Forge Industry. We realized it was a mistake, and yet for Songs of Everjade, our next game, we somehow, once again, were like about to do that. We were like, oh, we can do all of this ourselves. But luckily now on time, we had this self-insight to be like, hey, actually, let's just find someone to start making this game look a little bit better. Because we made the mistake once before, let's not do it again. And then the second thing that's ruining your progress is making your dream game, even if that's not what the market wants. So this, I always have to say this caveat. If you want to charge money for your game, if you want to actually sell it, and it's not just, oh, this is a game that like a hobby project for 10 years that I'm never planning on finishing, making your dream game without validating it on the market is dumb. You're gonna be wasting a lot of time because sure, you're gonna be a good fit. You would buy the game probably. But do you even know if there are any other people who like your game as well? Or is it just you that likes a very specific, very niche down version of the game? Again, if you're doing this as a hobby project, skip this step. But if you're planning to make it commercial, you're going to kind of have to sell your soul, at least for the first games, and look more, okay, at what is the market demanding. Oh, the market wants roguelites and city builders. Guess I'll be making one of those, or adult games. And sure, it might suck that you're not making your dream game, but look at it this way. If you start your first game already is your dream game, sure, you'll have a bit of motivation in the beginning, like the first few months, because like, hey, this is my dream, I'm finally making my dream come true. But as you make progress and you get deeper and deeper in the development cycle, and you maybe share a GIF here and there, or you make some posts on Reddit, or you even try some advertising, if nobody else is interested in it, it's going to be very demotivating very quickly, because generally, if you could just earn something, that would already be nice. But if you don't do any market research, anything like that, you're not going to be getting any of that positive feedback, and you're actually going to work less hard because, hey, why am I even making this game? Because trust me, you can have all the dedication and all the motivation you want. If you're working on the same thing for months on end without any like external positive feedback, you are going to want to not do it anymore. As a little bonus point also, not just have the idea, but already from day one, determine what are my unique selling points. This is a mistake that, once again, we've made, and that I see so many other people do, is they start making this thing, but there's no unique selling points. And why do you need your unique selling points? Well, because that leads to our following point that you usually don't do, and that is having a good planning. I can go very deep into this, but generally planning is something that you probably are doing in some degree, but I really want you to think like, is what I'm doing a good kind of planning? So the most common thing you see is get a Kanban board and put in like the different issues and just start working for there. And if you have your USPs, you can quickly translate these USPs to, okay, these are the actual mechanics I need to implement, this is the art I need. But what I often feel is missing is the link between a short-term planning, like what am I doing tomorrow or next week, and a long-term planning, which is like, what am I gonna do in a year? And I come from a software world where like agile and lean and things like that, and I understand it's really hard, but you should have both of these and you should try to interlink them. So how we do it is we have the concept of milestones or sprints really, where we plan month by month. These are the main features we want to do. And then at the start of each month, we go through that list of, okay, these are all the main features we want to do. How do we split them up? So this way we know roughly what are we going to be working on 4 months from now. And we can like mentally check that off of, okay, we don't need to think about it too much right now, but we can like plan a bit in advance. But then once like the month is about to start, only then do we really dig deeper and like give everyone, like, because we're multiple people, we're like, okay, William, you're now going to implement follower count in our game, or Thomas, you're gonna implement our library, or I'm gonna make some sprites, or I'm gonna write the actual content, things like that. Because sure, you can have that week by week planning, and that is something that I often see, like, okay, these are the 5 core issues, but if you don't have that long-term vision, you're going to drop that planning after 2 weeks realistically, because you don't know what you're going towards. The moment you make the planning, you're just like, oh, these are the things I need now, but you have no clue what you need to do in 3 months from now, and you should have an idea. This one ties a bit back into your dream game idea as well, but what's also killing your progress is not listening to feedback. Because you have your special baby, that is your game idea that you've come up with, you've been planning it out for months maybe. So if then you have like a first build and you let someone else play it and he's like, I don't like this, you know, it's like, they won't tell you that they don't like it, but it's like, oh, they play for like 2-3 minutes and then they're like smile awkwardly around them if you're doing it as a live playtest and they're like, that was interesting, or like, yeah, that was definitely fun, but they're not actually wanting to play more, then you know something's wrong. But you usually know it, but you'd still ignore it. You're like, oh, well, it's because it's an early build, we'll get there. Probably not. And what I see even worse is you're too scared to even let your game be playtested, because you know deep down inside that it's not the vision that you had imagined. You have this vision of a Breath of the Wild like games, what I usually like. That's what I have. I have a massive vision for a game like Breath of the Wild, but I know even if I had like a very high budget and I could hire multiple programmers and some artists, actually implementing that vision will be extremely hard and it will look completely different to what I have in my mind. And I would be scared as well to actually let the game be playtested, because I know this is not what I wanted really, which also means that someone else probably isn't going to be interested in it, and it can hurt. But if you don't playtest fast enough, you're going to be losing months or even years of time working on features that you're going to have to scrap in the end. I think, once again, we did this quite well because we have you guys, backseat game developers like I call you, where if we make a devlog about Songs of Everjade, you guys, you don't care. You see the gameplay, you hear me explain it, and you're already like, this is dumb, or maybe I like this, but really this thing doesn't really make sense, or what are your USPs, do you even know? We listen to that feedback, and that has saved us probably a few months of like working on things that actually didn't matter, and like has saved us from having to delay our game maybe like last minute, because we knew on time that, hey, whatever we're making now, it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna sell. Let's just pivot, let's listen to the feedback, because the game has strayed a little bit now from my original idea, but that's fine. We adapt because we need to, at some point, once again, this isn't a hobby project, we do want to make money at some point. We do need to see what does the market want. And lastly, I've beaten this horse to death so many times already, but marketing is incredibly hard, especially if you're an indie and you don't have the budget for like PR firms or dedicated like community managers or marketing people. If you're just doing this solo on your own, marketing is going to be probably the biggest killer of actually successfully launching your game. You can have a beautiful game, it can be very in-depth, but if you launch it with 500 or 1,000 wish lists and it's like $15, you're gonna sell 20 copies at most. And that's already very optimistic. And all of the time that you spent into making the game and polishing it and all those evenings and sleepless nights, that's not gonna be worth it for only 20 sold copies. So if that's the case, if you're planning on launching a game somewhat soon and it only has like 1,000 or less wish lists, here's what I would do. Just make it free and get it out there as fast as possible and move on. That's very important. We had this with Forge Industry as well. We had like 2,500 wishlists and we were like, we can keep trying to keep getting wishlists, but we had to be realistic that there's no way we're gonna get 5,000 wishlists overnight unless we paid a lot of money, started a very elaborate marketing campaign, or just got lucky and got like our game featured on like Wonderbots or some other huge channel by accident. But you can't plan for those things. But what you can plan for is that marketing is going to be so hard. From day one, you start planning for marketing your game. How am I going to actually get people interested in it? And maybe that means shifting up your development priorities a little bit, like making some fancy assets, like some key art first, before actually implementing the exact mechanics. That's something you see a lot with devlogs, for example, because visuals just sell. Or maybe by making a long-term commitment to yourself that, hey, every Saturday I'm gonna put a screenshot on X, on Reddit, on 9gag, whatever, and just already commit to marketing is going to be part of my plan. Instead of just being like, hey, I've got this whole game made, it's almost done, shit, I have 200 wishlist, or even worse, I don't have a Steam page up yet. Have a Steam page up. I keep saying this, the moment you have something showcaseable of your game, get that Steam page up, because even now, we are very slowly getting like a few wishlists a day without really pushing it, just by Steam like randomly pushing it organically, and that helps a little bit already. And it means that, okay, we can keep going harder, and whenever we do try to market something, we can immediately see, is this actually working? Don't just go to like a game show and not have wishlists, for example. It's a mistake I've seen plenty of studios make, and you're wasting money then, you're wasting time, and you're wasting energy. Plan for marketing, put it into that like long, like 1 year in advance planning already of, hey, these are the key milestones we're gonna do marketing wise. Anyways, that's all I had to say. This is more one of our like old school style of videos, so I hope you learned something from it. I do like making these from time to time, although in the end, it all comes down to just work more and do more marketing, and that's it. It's still something that I feel like I just need to repeat a lot before you actually listen to me and take it to heart. So listen to this video and actually implement it. Apart from that, we're game developers, we've made our own game, we're working on our next game, we make a lot of mistakes, and if you want to follow along and learn from our mistakes, then be sure to head down below and subscribe, as it really helps us out, as we also know that you're interested in it, and you get these videos twice a week. So it's a win-win for both of us. That's all I had to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!